So for some time on the internet, you know the people who were talking about these reactionaries online that have been saying for years, "Oh, my views are being censored," blah 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 blah. Even though not, they have a legitimate platform on YouTube, sometimes with quite large audiences, funding their nonsense through Patreon and whatnot, and yet here you have something which they've complained about. And I've brought up this point to these type of people before. Look, here you have a genuine situation of where someone has been almost disbarred from their position because of their political beliefs. This should not happen in this day and age, especially in this country. Disbarring someone, regardless of whether they were a leaver or a remainer, should not affect anyone gaining a position at any company, organisation, or whatever throughout the UK. It just should not disbar you at all. But here, much to you'll notice the people who cry about this the most have nothing to say because he's not one of them. And of course, they'll continue to complain about this victim mentality, and I encourage you, anyone else who you see bringing this up, maybe share them this video, maybe bring this person up. Why weren't you supporting this person? Because it's very, very often that these people who cry about the largest about being censored, they're losing their freedom of speech, when a genuine case of this comes along, they are silent. So who are we talking about today? Mary Beard, blocked by number 10 as British Museum trustee for pro-European views. She is Britain's best-known classicist, a Cambridge don with formidable intellect and a knack for getting people interested in all things ancient. That combination of passionate erudition with an accessibility would make you think that Mary Beard is a shoo-in for the board of the country's most prestigious historical institution. You'd be wrong. This 65-year-old scholar has been rejected by Downing Street as a trustee of the British Museum, the Observer understands. Whitehall sources said the decision last year to turn her down had been made because of her pro-European views, which she had frequently expressed via social media. Now, in response to the first rejection of the proposed British Museum trustee by number 10 for many years, the museum is understood to be planning to take matters into its own hand and appoint Beard as the most without the lengthy and sometimes Byzantine process of the Whitehall system. Under the arrangement, Downing Street has a say over the appointment of most of the museum's 25 trustees, but the museum constitution allows it to choose 5 for itself. Good for all the trustees, said one of the longest-standing former board member who did not want to be named. The decision to reject her is more about political correctness than rejected classical scholarship. Sir John Tusa, another former trustee, said also, the former BBC World Services boss, said, "This is an absolute scandal. The trustees of the British Museum exist to protect its intellectual, academic and political independence. Government interference is putting in place men or place women. It is a corruption of public life. Will any Remainer now expect to be punished by the government?" This week, Beard, who in 2018 said she had fulfilled a lifetime's ambition by working for a day as a visitor attendant at the museum, said that if asked to serve, she would do my duty, but she was cautioned. Being a good girl does not mean being a lackey. Asked why she thought she'd been rejected earlier, Beard, who was most recently presented The Shock of the Nude on BBC Two, replied, "There are cock-ups and conspiracies. I'm not, however, going to diss Boris Johnson or the Department of Culture." The decision to turn Beard down is believed to have happened at the end of Theresa May's premiership, when the museum proposed 4 new candidates for its board. 3 were accepted, all from the worlds of business and finance. It is not understood that the museum, noting that Beard was not among the names appointed by number 10, then made some discreet inquiries before eventually being told that the Brexit embattled government did not appreciate her pro-European social media remarks. Beard has never hidden her stance on the UK's departure from the EU, but she would hardly be one of the trustees to have made public statements that could be seen as political. Gray Pearson, on the board since 2015, has expressed both his support for the Labour Party and Remain. The museum, which declined to comment last night, is understood to be upset because the rejection of Beard seems to contradict its long-standing relationship with the government, which has always been at arm's length. While it gives the museum $40 million a year of funding, the government does not interfere in its running, exhibitions, or selection of its director, who is currently the German-born Hartwig Fischer. The museum's new attempt to appoint Beard comes with a very different Prime Minister. Boris Johnson is also a classist, even if not one in quite the same league as Beard. 4 years ago, Johnson and Beard faced off against each other in debate, organised by the media and events company Intellectual Squared. Johnson took the Greek side while Beard argued for the Romans. Before the discussion, the audience voted that Greece had given more to civilization, but during the discussion, in which the then Mayor of London called the Romans a very nasty bunch, Beard gradually swayed the audience, and at the end, a vote was taken, the victory for the Romans and Beard. Johnson famously had a bust of the Greek statement Pericles in his number 10 office, itself ironically a copy of the original in the museum. He also owns stocks. He also owns stocks in depicting the Assyrian king. I know how you say this, so I'm going to butcher this. Ashurbanipal, brought from the museum's shop last year during the Assyrian exhibition. The guy called himself King of the World, a view echoed by the young Johnson, who told his family as a child that he planned to be World King. Downing Street has declined to comment on the matter. And once again, you should note the people who often crow largest about these types of things when there is an actual case of this happening are very silent on the matter.